Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here with another movie review. This time I figured I'd kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to be talking about The Collector and The Collection. I actually own The Collector on DVD and I own The Collection on Blu-ray. I'd recommend checking both these films out and getting both of them because this is two films pretty much kind of like Alien and Aliens, where they kind of complement each other in my opinion. And if you get The Collection, they even talk about how Aliens was kind of a influence on the sequel. Pretty much the sequel, they go the action route, and the first film, The Collector, they go the horror route. And I love the setup of this type of flick. Like with The Collector, there's this dude who needs to pay off loan sharks so they won't hurt his wife and his kid. And he's going to go break into this house and take this jewel so he can do so. And there's a killer, coincidentally, there on the same night. Now, originally, this was actually going to be a Saw prequel, I believe. And the killer who comes to the house and sets traps was going to be like the inspiration to Jigsaw, who was going to be like the kid in the house, who was like the only survivor. And this is where he was going to take his ideas from for the traps and shit. That would have been kind of interesting. But I'm not a fan of the Saw franchise, even though I will admit the first film, I do think, despite its flaws, it is a great horror flick. I'll just say right off the bat, I like the killer in these Collector films far better than anything from the Saw films, from Jigsaw. He's just a badass. Like, this dude, he comes in there, he sets traps and everything, but he's also like an expert at combat. He like freaking throwing knives, and the dude has to like dodge them while he's running. Just really cool action. And I love the creepy vibe of this first film with how his eyes like glow like insect eyes, like bug eyes or something. He wears like this mask, kind of like a ski mask type of thing. It's kind of like stretched though around his face. Pretty much, he goes into a family's house. He scopes them out. You see him at the beginning of the film. He's actually posing as an exterminator, and that's how he scopes out houses. And he goes there. He tortures everybody. He sets up traps, I guess, for anybody who just happens to come into the house later so they can just fall into his traps. I guess that's just his joke gimmick thing. I don't really explain that too much, and that is kind of a bad writing point in the movie. But, and so he takes one person for his collection to do who knows what with. So this time he's after the daughter, the little girl in the house. And pretty much the thief gets there, he realizes what's going on with the family, and he has to make a choice to either get out of there with the jewel, because he's able to get out, but he decides to stay back and help the family. So it's like, the lesser of two evils versus the much worse of two evils, the killer. So he stays there to take out the killer, and you just get some fun cat and mouse type stuff. There's a really hilarious scene where he has to take the family cat and tries to save it, but accidentally throws it into one of the killer's traps, and it gets sliced in half. Really kind of goofy, but really fun. And each one of the family members pretty much gets killed one by one. Like the dad gets messed up pretty bad, and the mom gets stabbed like 5 or 6 times. Like she tries to escape, and the collector hears her because she's screaming like a retard. And she gets up there, and he like knifes her like multiple times in the chest, and then he burns her, I believe. After that, her body. That was cool. There's this one chick in the film, like the older daughter, who's really bitchy, but has a huge friggin' rack. And she gets killed by getting plastered to the wall. It does get a little bit predictable towards the end, where it's like, well, he's tried to help each family member, but it backfires and each one gets killed. And then by the climax of the film, he gets out and he can leave, but he looks back and sees the little daughter there, and it makes him think of his child and how he wants to protect his child. So he goes back to save the kid, and he like pistol whips the killer and knocks the shit out of him. The main character's name is Arkin. He's played by Josh Stewart. I believe that's his name. And there's an actor that I like from these films. He deserves more work, even more. He's great in both The Collector and The Collection. He's a badass. He pistol whips the hell out of the killer and kicks the killer's ass in like one-on-one combat. Towards the end, he manages to get away with the little girl by using one of the Collector's traps against him. And he gets away with the little girl, and the police show up. And this is one of my problems with the film, the ending, because something's going to happen, because the killer also gets away, and the film is just like kind of casually still going on. And then the Arkin's ambulance gets hit by the killer. Like, how'd the killer find the ambulance like randomly like that? I mean, how do you have enough time to do that while also trying to get away from the cops? It's a little much. But you know what's coming. He takes Arkin, and he's the one he collects instead of the little girl. It's pretty much a predictable ending. It takes what could be a great horror film into just a good horror film. But I really like the atmosphere of this flick. The Collection picks up like right after, like a little bit after, and Arkin escapes at this party or whatever, where he uses Arkin as bait to capture this other girl who's like from a rich family. And there's this big lawnmower type machine the Collector has that like just like mows down people, Saw style. But the Collector's just such more of a bad A villain than Jigsaw. Like, Jigsaw's just too preachy. He's just annoying. I'm like, dude, shut up. With this guy, I'm like, man, you bad. This is just such a much cooler villain. But anyway, and I just love how Josh Stewart's able to like take all this abuse and just keep getting away. Like, he friggin' takes a dead body, puts it in front of himself, busts it through a window, and falls on top of the dude, and that's how he gets away. It's just really cool. And he ends up getting forced to go back there to the Collector's hideout because he's the only one that knows where it is that's managed to escape. He gets forced to go back there by like these mercenaries that are hired by the rich girl's dad. And he has to go back there. And you get in there and it's just these really cool traps and everything. The Collector, you know, these guys are much more dangerous because they're mercenaries. So he has to be more cunning with these guys to take them out than he would, you know, just an average person. And he takes them out kind of pretty much one by one. The main, like, mercenary guy is the dude from Wayne's World, which is interesting. He was in Wayne's World. He was the guy walking around all the time going, no, man, I love you, which is really funny seeing him in a role like this. But he does a good job here. You know, one by one thing happens. Pretty much you get to the end of the collection, and it comes down to like the last 4 people, and there's this girl who you think might survive. She's like one of the mercenaries, but she gets killed at the last second and knifes in the back of the neck or whatever by the Collector. Surprise attack. That was a surprise. Didn't really see that coming. And then it comes down to like a knife fight between the main mercenary guy and the Collector, which was a cool, fun little knife fight. It makes you wonder, though, you know, where did the Collector get all this, like, you know, high-tech military training that he's able to take these guys on one by one. But because they don't know a whole lot about his backstory, we can kind of buy into it, so it does work. But anyway, he manages to take out the main dude from Wayne's World, who does get a few good hits in, but he manages to take him out, and while he's taking him out, the dude is like telling Arkin to finish him off, and Josh Stewart gets up and just like beats the ever-loving hell out of the Collector, and it's a really cool fight, because the Collector's like, you know, he's on his last limb. He knows that, you know, he's probably going down. He's wanting to take this dude with him. He like rams his knife into the side of Arkin's like mouth, and I love Josh Stewart's reaction. He just like knocks it out of his mouth. He's like, "Is that all you got?" And just keeps punching the crap out of the Collector. It's friggin' awesome. He grabs him and throws him down this hole, and then lights his ass on fire. And then the girl and him escape, because she like takes this 2x4 and busts these. The Collector has like these body parts made up into like insect type forms or whatever, stitched together, and she busts them and out of the glass, and water comes rushing in and takes out the fire so Arkin and her can break out. And they get out, and the fire department and everybody's there, but the Collector has managed to get away, and Arkin notices that he got away. And so he decides to, hold on, man, I'm going to stand up. He decides to go and take the Collector out himself, and he knows where the Collector lives. He manages to track him down, and he gets there to his house. And this is just like a really cool scene, because you see the Collector coming down, and he's in his house, and there's like this loud, like heavy metal music playing, and he knows something's going on. You don't get to see his face. They keep it just hidden just a little bit, but he gets a gun to the back of his head, and he knows, you know, it's Arkin, and he's like, are you going to kill me? You know, what are you going to do to me? And he's like, I'm going to make you feel everything I did, and then I'm going to kill you. And he turns around, Arkin just like slaps him and knocks him into a crate. And that's how it ends. You know, it perfect symmetry with the last film where how Arkin was captured, now the Collector's captured, and you know the Collector's going to die. So it's like perfect link up with the last film. Awesome flick. It could have been a little longer. That is one of the disappointments, but an awesome flick for the collection. Sorry about those dogs barking in the background. We got a lot of dogs around here. But yeah, awesome flick. Definitely worth watching. I recommend both films. I would rather watch these films as a combo deal over any of the Saw flicks. And so I'll see you guys again with the next review.